I had a completely different intro plan, but I just realized it's been how many years since the original Moana? Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Moana 2, the sequel to the first Moana that came out way back in 2016. My goodness, it's been a minute. But we are finally back in full swing with our titular character who isn't technically a princess, but is still categorized as a Disney princess. And in watching this, it made me realize how much I missed her, at least the voice behind her. Aloy Carvalho reprises the role in this, and my goodness, is it as gorgeous as ever. Earlier this year, she was in the Mean Girls musical, and her voice was stellar in that, and she just reminds me once again how beautiful it is. But before I got too off track, I do want to say that with Moana 2, I went in with low expectations because I barely saw any marketing for this, and I just didn't know exactly what I was going to get, especially with the live action currently filming as this movie is slated to come out right now. Also with the fact that this supposedly originally was going to be a show on Disney Plus, and then somewhere along the way of production they made this into a film. There were just a lot of things that made me kind of hesitant for this, even though I love the original film. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, this is a mixed bag. There are some truly spectacular highs, and then there's just a lot of, well, you saw they changed the process about halfway through, or whenever they did. Either way, it's much later than you'd hope, but it's still pretty amazing how good this is despite all of those flaws in production and just the rollout of this. Now getting back to Aloy Carvalho, her voice is just, oh, it's just so good. There's a song called Beyond that's going to be the one I remember from this soundtrack. And that's not just because the majority of these songs are Lin-Manuel Light, but because I do genuinely believe that it is a really good song that can fit on the first soundtrack. As for the rest of the voice cast, I do enjoy most of them, and it's nice to hear Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson once again in this role. For some reason, I feel like when he plays this character, he's actually acting much more and much harder than any other time he's on screen. Maybe except for the game plan. Maybe. In general though, I was surprised with this film's themes. One of them continuing from the first film, which is about connection and people. And in this one specifically, it's not only about looking to your past and your ancestral history, but also looking within yourself and sometimes needing a pep talk from a very close friend to remind you of who you are. And it is unfortunately just kind of annoying how this is a mixed bag, because those themes are wonderful and beautiful, and there's certain scenes that exemplify those themes. But then there's also a lot of scenes that's just filled with a lot of, you could just tell that it was supposed to be a show or something longer, because it's either missing things or it's just rushed or it's not great looking. That's one of the major things in this that does make it a mixed bag, and that's the animation. At times it's absolutely stunning and jaw-dropping and frame-worthy, and then most of the time it's just, you're not supposed to be seeing that on an IMAX screen. But all that being said, it's truly impressive the emotion that's able to come out from this movie and just give me chills. Like I said, there's a couple of times that I do think are just genuinely spectacular, and in those moments I actually had chills, and I just want to rewatch those scenes and listen to those musical numbers once again. As an overall film, does it go for the low-hanging fruit sometimes and just some easy points for a kid's movie? Yeah, sure, but it didn't bother me all too much. At times it wasn't the best, but I wasn't fully bothered by it. And that's because it's still genuinely able to include these wonderful deep themes that can be understood by so many people on so many levels. Just the overall beauty of community and wanting to connect people. I mean, that got me emotional at times, especially with Moana's little sister. My goodness, man, I wish I had a sibling. Overall, though, as a film, I'm sure many people are going to absolutely adore this movie and the music. For me, though, there are some clear flaws, but it doesn't fully get in the way of me enjoying this film. Is it as good as the first one? No, I don't think so, but I haven't seen the first one in many years. But in watching the first one, it still felt like it was much more groundbreaking than this one. And I do hope that for the third one, they understand that they're making a movie and not a show and then pivoting halfway through. Because I think not only do they set up for a third one, but I do genuinely think that they can put together a really, really great film for where this franchise could go. With that being said too, it should probably be the last one as well. Once again, this movie has some wonderful things to it, but it's also met with a lot of meh. However, I will be thinking about that song Beyond specifically and some of those shots for quite some time. But alright, those are my thoughts on Moana 2. If you've seen it, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.